Hello my friends, welcome back. Glad to see that you're joining me again today for the completion of the dungeon diorama. Here it is. I am stoked with this. This looks so good. I was having a bit of trouble trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the details on this, and I just went with one thing at a time. I think I started with the slime, the moss, the grunge, and I just built it up from there piece by piece. So, you know, I think I'll add this. I think I'll add the chains hanging on the wall. Hey, how about some skeletons? You know, it really turned out great. I am really happy with this project. So there it is. Why don't we go to the video? I'll show you how I did it. All right. To start off with, I grabbed my rock mold. And what I did is I used some dollar store clay. This stuff's pretty cheap, but for things like this, for just making some rocks, it's perfect to use. So I made a whole bunch of rocks in that mold, and as you can see, they come out actually really good. They look pretty cool. So I made a bunch of rocks, and then I moved on and started with the flocking. This is my homemade flocking that I used. It was just some paint and some sawdust, and what I did with this is I'm making the slime or the moss or the gross green growing stuff that's in all the cracks. And I just added some paint and some Mod Podge, mixed it all up, and it turned into a really great looking color. And then I started adding it to all the crevices where I thought that this mossy, moldy growth would grow. So there you can see I added it to a fair amount of places. That really broke up that gray. I like that really bright green, so I think that turned out really well. So then I started on the torture rack. So this is just some balsa wood, just some dimensional balsa wood I got in a package. Cut this up, cut a few pieces up actually, just to make this rack that I saw online. It was an interesting looking rack. It kind of had a triangle type look to it. And just some super glue. I had cut a base there and started gluing this together. And this turned out really cool looking. I was quite surprised. Never saw a rack like this before, kind of like a hanging rack where your arms are held by chains. So that's what it looks like, kind of almost a cross type thing. So then just went about painting it up with a little bit of brown paint and a little bit of black paint. And some barrels that I found in my kit there, so just painted those up as well. A darker brown, just the same color as that torture rack there. So then I went about and I started putting in the spikes in the wall. Now these spikes are gonna hold the chains that hang down, and this one here is for the skeleton that will be held by its arm. So those turned out pretty cool. Hey everybody, if you're enjoying this video, please do me a favor. Hit the like and subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. Let's go back to the video. So after I got all the chains on there, I started gluing down those rocks. I don't know why, I just thought, hey, let's have a huge pile of rocks in the corner there. So glued all those down, and they were definitely an off color compared to the rest of the project. So I painted these a nice darker gray, did some highlighting, did some dry brushing on them, and they turned out really well. So here's the finishing of the barrels. I added some copper color to the bands, and then when everything was dry, I added my black wash. Now this is a new recipe that actually has really impressed me. It's turned out much better than my last one. So anyway, started gluing all these pieces down to the project, and then I went on, and so these here are 3D printed. So these skeletons and the huge fire cauldrons. So I just painted those up pretty basic, and then I used my drill, and this is where the LED lights are going to be inserted. So in the back of the actual cauldron bowls, I drilled some holes just to make it easy to get those LED lights in there. So finishing them up, black wash. Again, this is a new recipe for me, and it's flowing much nicer, and it really does a better job than my last one. I'm pretty happy with this here. So anyway, after that was all black washed, I used a very very almost white color for dry brushing on top of the fire cauldrons, and this looked really, really good. The detail came out very well. There you can see it there. Between that black wash and that dry brush, these look really good. So I went and I started gluing these to the project, thinking that it would be no big deal to insert the lights through the walls and then into the back of these cauldrons. Well, that didn't happen. So what happened was I had to drill the holes, and I actually had to remove each one of those fire cauldrons so I could string and glue the LED lights into them. Wasn't a big deal. They came off, minimal paint was lifted when I pulled these cauldrons off, but when I glued them back on, everything was hidden. There was nothing showing, so it actually worked out not too bad. And they looked really good in there. So for the fire, I used my silicone mat and hot glue trick. Just did a back and forth, as you see there, and then pulled the tips with my tweezers. That gives a kind of a fire lick at the very top. That's the kind of look it gave. And I personally think these turned out really well. So just some yellow paint. Didn't color the whole thing, just did kind of streaks. A really bad job, if you will. A little bit of red, and finished it off with some black wash. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again.